In the last video we covered the promises, but as we discussed, we could use some different callbacks here, right? Instead of adding our custom code here, I can extract to a function and I can call as a callback. Like, let's create a function here. This is my function. Like if I just move this part to here, all right. So how the set timeout works is, first of all, I need a callback and then I need the timeout duration. But in this way, the promise would not be resolved, right? Because I have to somehow resolve, because I try to do that inside my function, but it's not defined, so I have to pass as a parameter. But since this is a callback, I cannot pass my parameter. So how I can do that is a very little trick. Just use the array notation, and in this way I am able to pass the resolve parameter into my function. So instead of using just the name of the function, use the array notation. So again, no change, it is still a callback, but even I can pass my parameter here. So let's try 1 2, little bit wait, and then promise result 3 4. Still working as I expect. So instead of implementing my all lines here, I can just extract all my implementation into a separate function, and I can use array notation to create a callback here. So the second thing we can try is, instead of this set timeout, actually we can try some actual steps, right? Actual functions which are doing some maybe UI steps or API queries. So let's try to do an API query. So I will remove this set timeout from here, and I will do my implementation here. So what we can do is, maybe I can do a fetch which will do an API query, and inside fetch let me find an open API. I have it in my other browser, so this should work. This is the URL, and what else I need? I need the requests options here inside fetch, which should be the method. In this way, since I'm doing only an inquiry, it should be get, and the redirects can be defined as follow. All right, and after fetch, after I get the response, let's return response text into our next. Then this is again chaining as we discussed in the last video, and whenever I have response text, I can just print on the console. Okay, but I have to resolve my promise, right? I have to add it here. So let's make this part as a number of lines instead of just returning something. Okay, this time we are not using a dummy set timeout, but we are doing some actual steps. And since I used the fetch library, I have to import it. Fetch. Okay, it's automatically completed to not fetch. I guess it should work. Let's see. I didn't have the response text itself. Because this should be a function call, right? I just passed the function name. Okay, now I have some response here, response text. This is not a meaningful text because the object itself is a picture. So this open API is returning a picture, an image. So I can see the binary text of this response here. Cool. So this was the second thing. And finally, let's even combine this timeout and the fetch. So here what I'm doing, let's remember how SetTimeout works. First, I need a callback here, and then I need the duration, right? So let's use fetch inside the timeout. So I will remove this part. This is the promise. Fetch is ending where? Here. And I want to include the dense as well. So this is the function that I want to use. So I want to use inside SetTimeout. Okay, if I use this one inside my promise, what will happen now is I will get the fetch response even after waiting for 1 second. It was already a little bit delayed, right? Because it is making a query and getting the response, so it takes some time. So this time it will be even 1 second more. So after 1 second, get the response, and 3 and 4. Very cool. So in this video, we made some even more practice to play around the promise and SetTimeout. Actually, let's do a final more practice on SetTimeout because it's important to understand how it works. So instead of this, let me do a SetTimeout here. So what we need is first a callback, like a very simple one. Just do a console log and the duration. Okay. What will I see now? 1, 2, 3, 4, and a console log. A console log, but without anything, right? Because I couldn't pass a parameter. So this is the trick that we did at the very first. Because if I try to pass a parameter here, it will complain, right? Because it is not a valid callback anymore. It should be a callback. So normally I can use only the function name. But what I can do is, with a very little trick, if I use the array notation, I can even use my parameter here. And it is still a callback, right? It just describes how the function works. So this is passing the function itself without any parameter. But inside I have my parameter. So it works as I expect. Let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally hello. So SetTimeout is working as getting 2 parameters. The first one is the callback. The second one is the timeout. So callback can be anything, like if I have any function, can be that one. But if I need to pass some parameters to this function, it's better to use the array notation.